Grab a cup of coffee and start your Sunday with Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life features stories to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Every Sunday morning at 9 on the Talk of New York, AM 970, The Apple. Visit cyacyl.com.
Hi, this is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Every day we strive to achieve joy in our lives, and we usually look to the outside world for our source of happiness. Our guest today, author Julie Genovese, found that true happiness must come from within. Julie was born a dwarf with degenerative arthritis. After much heartache and humiliation, she decided to take charge of her life, and she decided that she would stop at nothing short of joy. Julie is an inspirational speaker and the author of the Amazon best-selling memoir, Nothing Short of Joy, which is her story of self-discovery. Julie has been featured on television and radio across the country, including Oprah.com. Julie has appeared on stage with internationally renowned author and speaker Dr. Wayne Dyer. Good morning, Julie. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Joan. Thank you for having me.
Julie, I'm very excited about this interview. As I told you before, I finished your book last night, and it was beautifully written. So I really want our listeners to get to hear your story and to learn the lessons that you've been able to acquire over the past years.
Thank you, and thank you for reading it.
Julie, Dr. Christiane Northrup, in referring to your book and your life story, she said that your story is eloquent and moving proof that our spirits are always intact and always whole, regardless of how things appear physically. Now, to get a sense for what Dr. Northrup was talking about, can you let us know how you were born and what it is that she was talking to on a physical level?
Mm-hmm. I was born with spondyloepiphyseal dysplasia, which is a really long Latin label for dwarfism. My form of dwarfism was associated with degenerative arthritis. There were a lot of problems with my joints and my spine. And so from the start, I was connected with the medical community. And it was wonderful that I found authors like Christiane Northrup and Bernie Siegel who understood the mind-body connection and helped me to understand that the negativity that I had received from the world and the belief that I was disadvantaged and defective was really just a mindset. And it didn't have to do with my actual circumstances. It had to do with the way people were responding to them. And then I took on that same response and became my own worst enemy. I was the one who learned how to impose those limitations on myself, which is what we all are doing in our different ways. Mine happened to be physical issues and an external body that people rejected or humiliated. But ultimately, it's all about that internal response, and that when we discover we're in charge, we can choose our response. We have the ability to, as you know, we change our attitude and everything else begins to change.
And we're going to talk about that in much greater detail later on. But just at this point, now you have a brother who was born with the same condition.
Mm-hmm. I have 5 older brothers and sisters. The last 2 of us were born with SED. And when my brother was born a year and a half before me, the doctors told my parents, well, it won't happen again because he's just a mutation. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I came along and proved them wrong. They didn't know at the time that it was genetically passed along. And my brother and I, though, within our family, we weren't the support group you'd think we would have been, because my parents had decided, they told us years later, they did not want to make our dwarfism an issue, and so they didn't really address it at all. They loved us, they accepted us, but I misinterpreted that silence as shame, mm-hmm. that it was a bad thing, and that's why we didn't talk about it. And so over the years, my brother and I we looked at our situations very differently. I went inside and felt it was all my fault, and he sort of lashed out at the world and was angry at everyone and anyone who stared. So it was interesting to see two people in very similar circumstances react in very different ways.
Well, Julie, you explained your feelings so eloquently in the book when you were talking about the times that you would drive up to Massachusetts, to Boston, because I'm assuming you were part of a study because this was so rare, and there would be teams of doctors that would come in and they would evaluate you, and you would literally be standing on a table in front of all of these strangers. And if you could just very briefly give our listeners a sense of what you were going through at that time, because to be honest, it was something I never thought about. We hear about people that are part of studies and so forth, but we never put a human face to those people. And you really got into my soul with the way you explain that. So please share that with us.
Yeah, that was incredibly traumatizing, to be in the medical world and to be considered a specimen, really a defect. And the words that they used in describing me, deformed and misaligned, they were describing my physical self, but I felt it was me, because we all associate ourselves with our body. And so it didn't occur to them, and hopefully the medical world is changing and has changed over the years, that at that time when there was a convention and they wanted my brother and I, because they wanted to study these oddities and nonconformities, and one day they put me up on a table. I believe it must have been residents, but they all had their white coats on. I assumed they were doctors. And my doctor proceeded to describe me and everything that was wrong. Not a thing about what was good or what was hopeful about my case. It was all what didn't go right and which was abnormal compared to the regular world. And so those labels were devastating. Over the years, I went on to really embrace that as the definition of who I was. In time, it actually it was a catalyst to discover that I was more than my body, to find my spirit, to find the love and joy inside. But at the time, as a child, to be seen through the eyes of these gods of medicine, which were the ultimate authority. My parents sort of were deferential to them. Everyone was. So I thought what they said was truth forever and ever, and that I had no hope. So it was really, I think that's part of why I'm here, though, is to bring understanding to the medical world as well, because they are learning what they're taught in medical school, to be objective, to be cold in a way.
Right.
And it's just not possible, because you cannot disconnect our body from our spirit.
So Julie, to use your own language, at this point you had already decided that you were defective, and now all these great minds were validating what you already knew on the inside.
Yeah, exactly.
So now you are going out into the world, and you have to go to school, and you have to spend time with children who were brutal to you. And then you go on to college. And I love the story about Josh, because Josh liked you, and you were your own worst enemy at that time.
I totally was.
Can you share, what happened with that? You were the one that decided that you weren't good enough for Josh.
That's right. It's funny, because I think our spirit and our higher self knows that we're good enough. And so it made me, of course, want to be in love and want to find a partner and want to be adored. But as soon as this boy who I had such a crush on, and we were friends, as soon as he showed interest, I just was nearly incapacitated, because my negative view of myself couldn't believe what he saw. And I also feared that if he saw my true self, which I thought at the time was very negative and very sad and very angry, that he would then reject me. So when he showed a little bit of interest, I basically pushed him away and told him of someone else I knew who had a crush on him.
Exactly.
Completely leveled myself. I was miserable after I did it. They did end up dating for a long time. That story is really an interesting one, because so many people have done that and continue to do that without realizing that they don't want to be rejected, so they reject first. And then we end up getting what we expect, which is not the love we really deserve.
Julie, we're going to take a break for our healthy living tip of the week. But as we do, I want to leave our listeners with a quote that you had said. I never believed that someone could love a defect. I didn't want me, so why would he? He didn't reject me. I did it to myself. No wonder I'm alone. I've been projecting my fear out to everyone, not realizing it as within. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Eric Murphy, Fitness Director and co-owner of Pearl Personal Training in Little Falls, New Jersey. I want to briefly discuss the optimum performance training model. Until now, most training programs have been based almost entirely on the experiences and goals of bodybuilders, coaches, and athletes. Scientifically unsupported training programs are not designed to meet the needs of our increasingly deconditioned and injury-prone society. NASM's exclusive Optimum Performance Training method represents the industry's first and only comprehensive training program based on current scientific research that provides undisputed results specific to individual needs and goals. By incorporating multiple types of training, flexibility, cardiorespiratory, core, balance, reactive, speed, agility, quickness, strength, and kinesis into every program, the revolutionary and easy-to-use OPT method improves all abilities and builds high levels of functional strength, neuromuscular efficiency, and dynamic flexibility. Here at Pearl, our professional training staff are firm believers in combining the innovative OPT model with the cutting-edge technology of kinesis. The result is a dynamite fitness program for all levels. To see firsthand our studio in action, YouTube Pearl Personal Training. Visit our website at pearlpersonaltraining.com or call for a free training session, 973-837-8202. We look forward to scheduling you today.
Change your attitude, change your life, and big, believe, inspire, grow. Salute the entrepreneurial spirit of small business owners, people who follow a dream, work hard, and make it happen. This week's Spotlight on Organizing with Evelyn is brought to you by VMM Benefits, a voluntary benefit specialist. Call VMM at 201-697-0203. Picture this. You're sitting on the couch reading a book, relaxing. Dinner is bubbling away on the stove. You're stress-free and enjoying the moment. You think, isn't there something I should be doing? You start to get up and then realize that no, there is nothing. As you look around, you notice that your home is organized and peaceful. 30 Days to an Organized Home can help you make this dream a reality. 30 Days to an Organized Home is a book that provides tips and tricks to put you in the driver's seat and keep you there. No more chaos or clutter. 30 Days to an Organized Home teaches you how to create orderly rooms with very little time and effort. Are you running your home or is your home running you? For more information about 30 Days to an Organized Home or to order a copy, visit www.organizingwithevelyn.com.
Health insurance costs have risen at an alarming rate. At the same time, coverage choices have narrowed. Supplemental insurance provides an employer with the opportunity to enhance its current health plan without adding cost or administration. From accidents to catastrophic illness to intensive care to unexpected death, VMN Benefits has the plan to meet your needs. Call VMN Benefits at 201-697-0203 to learn more about supplemental insurance. VMN Benefits, providing peace of mind for your employees.
Some people prefer traditional funeral services. Others prefer cremation. Some want an elaborate ceremony. Others don't want any ceremony at all. Visit Funeral Homes offer all types of services because we know there are all types of people. That's why we specialize in personalized funeral services. To meet the needs of each and every family, call Bishop Quinlan Funeral Homes of Clifton at 973-546-2000 and Bishop Parker Funeral Home of Little Falls at 973-256-4700 for ideas and information on how to plan a service as individual as you are.
Welcome back to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman, and our guest today is author Julie Genovese. Julie was born a dwarf with degenerative arthritis. Her new book, Nothing Short of Joy, chronicles her journey of self-discovery through heartache and humiliation to inner peace and happiness. Julie, before break, we were beginning to talk about a very important lesson that you learned through your experience with Josh, and that was when you were projecting your inner feelings onto the outside world and to other people. Now, after Josh, you then started to change your way of living. You changed your diet and you started to study your feelings from within. How did this come about, and what made you take that path?
That's a good question. I think I became so disconnected from myself and so miserable about my life. I really was asking for help. I think when it gets bad enough, there is a crack in our armor, and that's when our spirit, the universe, can come in. And I ended up moving to Boston, of all places, which was where I used to be studied by the doctors and had to go for my evaluations, and I ended up moving back there. And it was a beautiful full circle because Boston became the place of a huge awakening for me. I found this little bookstore, and it was full of books on personal growth and spirituality and inspiration, and it was completely what I needed to hear, was that my joy and my peace was not going to be based on my circumstances, or in my case, on my body. It was going to be based on my attitude, on my own response to these things, on ferreting out the negativity that I'd adopted as real, and discovering that I had a choice. I could actually choose a path toward joy instead of the one I had chose, which was believing what my pack said about me, which was believing what the medical world said when they really didn't know. Mm-hmm. They were studying me. They were looking for answers, but they were sort of projecting onto me that this was definitely a bad thing, that nothing good could come of it, and I've found the opposite, that all sorts of gifts come as a result of our struggles. You know, the greater the tribulation, the greater the triumph. And I think that's why we go through the ringer, is for that achievement, that sense of who we really are, what is our strength, why are we here, do we have a purpose, is there something beyond the pain? And when I found there was, that empowerment was worth the journey.
Now, Julie, to listen to you right now, you sound so wise and so together. And for our listeners that are going through difficult times, was this an easy transformation for you?
No. You know, of course it takes time, but those moments of epiphany where I found those wonderful books and I found what I believed were to be my companions along the way. I was not an open person. I didn't talk about my issues. I didn't even know what most of them were. So I didn't feel I had the friendships I could really rely on, but I found these books. And there's no lack of these resources out there, mentors for us to find, even more so now with technology. So, but at that time, I felt I needed people to hold my hand and help me shift my perspective. And there were moments where I thought, oh, I understand, it's all so clear. And then I'd have to go back a few steps backward to really apply the new understanding. So it's been, 5 steps forward, a few steps back, a few steps forward, and it continues to be that. I mean, I'm always on the journey, as we all are. There's never a completion or a time where I got it all or I understand it all. Those old issues sometimes still rear up. The other night I was at a fundraiser and I had my books and my artwork, and they had said it was a casual waterfront event. And so I showed up in a nice pair of shorts and a shirt, and I didn't wear flip-flops, thank goodness. I thought about it, but I wore my sneakers. But when I got there, everyone was very dressed up. And I felt for the first half hour I was just comparing myself the entire time. I was looking for other people with sneakers. I was looking for other people who were wearing shorts and not dresses. And then I said, what am I doing? This is not about our appearance. And here I am back in my childhood thinking that I'm my body, when this fundraiser is all about this beautiful wellness center that is looking for alternative treatments for cancer and supporting women. And I had completely lost track of the joyful focus. I had gone into my old negativity. So, it happens. But then without judgment, we can move forward again.
And one of the most interesting things that I found in your story, and I can totally relate to this, is that every time you would realize that, that pretty popular girl, that she was just as insecure as the rest of us.
Exactly.
It was just something I could relate to. And I think that's an important lesson that everyone really needs to learn, that it doesn't matter what you look like, what you've accomplished, if you're wealthy, if you're not. Mm-hmm. We all have insecurities, and we all have things that, we admire in other people and we wish that we could be. So, everyone really is on a level playing field, but we just don't see it.
Yes. Yeah, I thought I was so disadvantaged because physically I was different. But in the end, the fact that I couldn't hide my differences really asked me to go inside. It asked more of me initially, whereas my friends, the one who was the prom queen, and everyone admired her, and she was smart, and she was friendly, and she just seemed to have everything going for her, I find out years later that she had just as many, if not more, insecurities than I did. She was often attacked by who she thought were her closest friends because they were all vying for that highest spot of, the most popular, the prettiest. And so she didn't feel she had anyone to rely on, and she didn't feel that ultimately people knew who she was on the inside because they judged, even though it was positive, they were still judging her by her body, by her, or the jocks, by their physical ability. Mm-hmm. And without that, who were they? And it took them a long time to find who they were and did they love and respect who that person was, when we're also used to listening to how other people talk about us or how they see us instead of going inside and finding that ultimate acceptance and love and wisdom within.
Julie, tell us about your personal life. Are you married, children?
Yes, I found a wonderful husband, and it was really after probably the hardest year in my life. I had had 2 hips replaced and 2 knees replaced, and that hardship, which sort of flung me back into my fears about the medical world and my feeling of weakness and that I was disadvantaged, and all of that catapulted me then forward into seeing more of my strengths and more of why I was here, the power I did have to make choices, and I began to believe I had value and that I could be in love and I could find that partnership. And I met Bill. Actually, he was friends with 2 of my friends, and for over 10 years, and I'd never met him. We were both volunteering at a holistic health fair, and there was an immediate something, which of course initially I doubted because I thought, well, I've never been right before. Why would I be right this time?
Right.
But the longer we talked and we got to know each other, we are a great match, and we've been together 15 years now. We have 2 boys, 6 and 10, who teach me all sorts of things about myself, and I just am amazed at how life has come around for me because I realized and saw that I did not believe in myself, and that we can work on that. We can actually change that. It's not reality. It's just what we've been taught. That's it. It's negative programming, and any programming can be undone, and we can insert more joyful programming.
Julie, it's very easy to hear the joy in your voice, and Dr. Wayne Dyer wrote about your book that it is a masterpiece that will take you out of your comfort zone and into a magical world of joy. Do you believe that we're uncomfortable with joy? Do you think that we prefer to be miserable?
Yeah, sometimes it looks that way only because it's habit, and habit is familiar, and habit feels like it's safe. It's like the old saying about the caged bird, that's all we know. We know those bars, we know how they look, we know how they feel, and there's a fear of moving out of it. So I don't think we prefer it, but I think because it feels safe that we choose it. And we can choose differently, because as soon as it becomes too uncomfortable, and for me, I just was sick and tired of being angry all the time and fighting and lashing out at the world, instead of the truth was I was fighting myself. I was lashing out at me because I was the one betraying myself. I had agreed with the doctors. I had agreed with the bullies. I'd agreed with the strangers who stared and laughed at me, even though it had been grating against the truth of who I am, and I think our emotions let us know when we're not looking at ourselves the way our soul would look at us, the way the God that we pray to would understand us to be as love, as perfect, just fine, even with all our mistakes and missteps, that we still have this great potential, and we're here to find it and share it and be it.
Julie, where can our listeners go to get more information about you and your work?
My website is nothingshortofjoy.com. I'm also, I blog on the Huffington Post, so you can search Julie Genovese at the Huffington Post. They can, if the listeners would like to read the first 3 chapters of my book, that's also at nothingshortofjoy.com.
And as always, our listeners can visit our website, which is cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on our site, listen to past shows as podcasts, read the digital magazine, and sign up for our mailing list. Again, if you'd like more information about Julie, visit nothingshortofjoy.com. Julie, in 30 seconds or less, what would you like our listeners to walk away from this interview with? What do you want them to remember?
That we all spend a lot of time screaming at the rain, but truly the storm is inside of us, and that's actually good news because we can calm that with all sorts of new habits and new practices, and there are people out there and mentors that can help us keep to those practices and those habits that are going to bring out the truth of ourselves, which is peace and joy.
Julie, thank you so much. The book is Nothing Short of Joy by Julie Genovese. Julie, I hope we have the opportunity to have you come back again. I really enjoyed this interview.
Thank you, Joan. I would love to. Thank you so much.
This is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.